This is part 3 of chapter 21 of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I therefore called Conseil, who brought me a little light drag, very like those for the oyster fishery. Now to work. For 2 hours we fished unceasingly, but without bringing up any rarities. The drag was filled with Midas ears, harps, melamies, and particularly the most beautiful hammers I have ever seen. We also brought up some holothurius, pearl oysters, and a dozen little turtles that were reserved for the pantry on board. But just when I expected at least, I put my hand on a wonder, I might say a natural deformity, very rarely met with. Conseil was just dragging, and his net came up filled with divers ordinary shells when, all at once, he saw me plunge my arm quickly into the net to draw out a shell, and heard me utter a conchological cry, that is to say, the most piercing cry that human throat can utter. "What is the matter, sir?" he asked, in surprise. "Has master been bitten?" "No, my boy. I thought I would willingly have given it a finger for my discovery." "What discovery?" "This shell," I said, holding up the object of my triumph. "It is simply an olive porphyry, genus olive, order of the Petingbranchialidae, caste of gastropods, subclass of mollusca." "Yes, Conseil, but instead of being rolled from right to left, this olive turns from left to right." "Is it possible?" "Yes, my boy, it is a left shell." Shells are all right-handed, with rare exceptions, and when by chance their spiral is left, amateurs are ready to pay their weight in gold. Conseil and I were absorbed in the contemplation of our treasure, and I was promising myself to enrich the museum with it when a stone, unfortunately thrown by a native, struck against and broke the precious object in Conseil's hand. I uttered a cry of despair. Conseil took up his gun and aimed at the savage who was posing his sling 10 yards from him. I would have stopped him, but his blow took effect and broke the bracelet of amulets which encircled the arm of the savage. "Conseil!" cried I. "Conseil!" "Well, sir, do you not see that the cannibal has commenced the attack?" "A shell is not worth the life of a man," said I. "Ah, the scoundrel!" cried Conseil. "I would rather he had broken my shoulder." Conseil was in earnest, but I was not of his opinion. However, the situation had changed some minutes before, and we had not perceived. A score of canoes surrounded the Nautilus. These canoes, scooped out of the trunk of a tree, long, narrow, well adapted for speed, were balanced by means of a long bamboo pole which floated on the water. They were managed by skillful, half-naked paddlers, and I watched their advance with some uneasiness. It was evident that these Papuans had already had dealings with the Europeans and knew their ships. But this long iron cylinder anchored in the bay without masts or chimney, what could they think of it? Nothing good, for at first they kept at a respectful distance. However, seeing it motionless, by degrees they took courage, and sought to familiarize themselves with it. Now this familiarity was precisely what it was necessary to avoid. Our arms, which were noiseless, could only produce a moderate effect on the savages, who have little respect for aught but blustering things. The thunderbolt without the reverberations of thunder would frighten man but little, though the danger lies in the lightning, not in the noise. At this moment, the canoes approached the Nautilus, and a shower of arrows alighted on her. I went down to the saloon, but found no one there. I ventured to knock at the door that opened into the captain's room. "Come in," was the answer. I entered, and found Captain Nemo deep in algebraical calculations of x and other quantities. "I am disturbing you," said I, for courtesy's sake. "That is true, Monsieur Aronnax," replied the captain, "but I think you have serious reasons for wishing to see me." "Very grave ones. The natives are surrounding us in their canoes, and in a few minutes we shall certainly be attacked by many hundreds of savages." "Ah," said Captain Nemo quietly. "They are come with their canoes?" "Yes, sir." "Well, sir, we must close the hatches. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back with part 4 tomorrow.